My name is Asa Mari, and I came to the WorkFaith Connection as a part of my career development requirement at the Bonita House of Hope. I had just spent an entire year in intensive residential treatment for drugs and alcohol, and another 2 months in personal development. I don't know if anybody knew this at the time, but I didn't want to come to another workshop. I just didn't want to hear anything. I didn't want to sit in another class. I just wanted to get out there and get a job. But as God would have it, I was going to have to do things His way. So I sat in the classroom as part of class 39, and that was the last class of 2008. And I couldn't think of a better way to end the year. As I journeyed those 8 days with my instructors, it became clearer to me that having a job was more than just getting up every day and going to work. It was about being blessed by God with the purposeful task of building His kingdom, and that meaningful employment was an opportunity to bless others with my gifts and my talents. And then they asked me, what were my gifts and talents? Well, after 10 years of destructive behavior and negative decisions, I hardly knew. But every time I entered those doors, someone was there to remind me of one more good thing about myself. It was as if God had strategically placed those people in my path to remind me of who it was He created me to be. I remember telling Miss Deborah Howard, if I seem to be overwhelmed by all of this love, it's because I am. I hardly ever know how to respond because it's so much. I kid you all not, Miss Sandy would freak me out. She's like, you want a hug? I'm like, why? I don't understand. But there's something transforming about being surrounded by people who genuinely love you and who want to see you succeed. After being told my entire life that I would never be anybody and that I would never amount to anything, here was this group of people who saw something in me that made them believe that I could be a success. It made me want to see it in myself. Suddenly, I wanted so much to see whatever it was that they saw in me. But the biggest blessing I received from those 8 days was being given the freedom to tell the truth about myself in an interview, without fear of judgment or condemnation. You see, I never went to prison, but that's not because I didn't do anything to end up there. It was just because I isolated myself well enough so that I never got caught. And I always joke that God knew He couldn't send me to prison because I'm such a big crybaby. So, yeah. So for so long, I hid behind exaggerations and embellishments on my resumes and my applications because I didn't know how to explain the gaps in my employment history, why I couldn't keep a job for more than 3 months at a time. I felt the shame of my past overshadowing me, choking the life out of every interview. Having received the words and instructions to go forth in confidence, knowing that God's plans for me are good plans, plans to prosper me, to give me a future and a hope, that in itself was the most fulfilling gift I have ever received. It was the most overwhelming sense of relief, and I just knew that my best days were ahead of me. So since then, I've been employed for 1.5 years. I know, right? At the same job. Isn't that awesome? And I love my job. I get to use those gifts and talents with which God has blessed me to bless others. Being financially stable has allowed me to be a better mother to my 2 children in being able to provide our basic needs without having to borrow from friends or family members, and most recently, to get off welfare. With the introduction of the Thrive program, I have been able to work with my financial coach to establish a savings account and work towards my goals of returning to school to complete my undergraduate studies in the fall of 2011. And to this end, I was able to consolidate my student loans, and I was able to pay one off with my 2009 tax return. My credit score has improved, and I also secured a loan to purchase my first vehicle. So now I just need to learn how to drive. But the best part in all of this is the way I can see how God has restored me to himself through the work of all of those at WorkFaith Connection and their endless love for me and those just like me. When I walked through those doors in 2008, I felt loveless and alone in the world. My entire family lives in another country, so I didn't have anywhere really to call home. Well, not only did I get an impressive resume and extensive practice in interviewing, I also received a family. I found in Sandy the heart of a mother. I had my lovely aunts, Pat and Deborah, my father, David, my big sisters, Frida and Jean, and I got a big brother, Scott, who also has a head as big as mine. It was clear to me that God had surrounded my life with people to love me and care for me, to prepare me for his kingdom-building work. I could now choose for myself the kind of life I wanted to live, a life enslaved to drugs and alcohol and negativity, or the freedom to walk in boldness, surrounded by the love of Christ. My options have never been clearer. Being given the gift of God in Christ, along with the gift of work, has transformed my life in ways even I have a hard time putting into words. But I can say this, my story is only one of almost 1,000 others just like it. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but if you look on your table, there's one of these little roll-up blueprints. If you open this, there's 6 other stories in here, just like mine. And this is just the beginning. To those of you who make this vision possible, I would like to say thank you. Not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of the hundreds of families that are being restored, lives that are being changed, children who are being taken care of and who get to reap the benefits of seeing their parents get up every day and go to work with a sense of pride and dignity. Your kindness will ripple through the ages, affecting the lives of millions. It is a blessing to have in our community a small group of people who demonstrate the love of God so intimately and profoundly. God bless you all.